friends. Listen to this book. It's called Swimmy by Leo Leone. If you're in my class, you might have already heard this for our read aloud. If that's the case, just listen again. While I'm reading, I want you guys to be thinking, what is the trouble? How do they solve the trouble? And what does the character realize at the end or learn at the end? All of those clues, just like we practiced in our lesson, will help us to figure out what the lesson of the story is. So, what did the character learn? Okay, so be thinking about those questions as I read. What's the trouble? How did the trouble get fixed? And how did the character learn something? What did the character learn at the end? Swimmy. A happy school of little fish lived in a corner of the sea somewhere. They were all red. Only one of them was as black as a mussel shell. He swam faster than his brothers and sisters. His name was Swimmy. One bad day, a tuna fish, swift, fierce, and very hungry, came darting through the waves. In one gulp, he swallowed all the little red fish. Only Swimmy escaped. He swam away in the deep, wet world. He was scared, lonely, and very sad. But the sea was full of wonderful creatures, and as he swam from marvel to marvel, Swimmy was happy again. He saw a Medusa made of rainbow jelly, a lobster who walked about like a water-moving machine, strange fish pulled by an invisible thread, a forest of seaweeds growing from sugar candy rocks. I couldn't read that word. Sugar candy rocks. An eel whose tail was almost too far away to remember. And sea anemones who look like pink palm trees swaying in the wind. Then, hidden in the dark shade of rocks and weeds, he saw a school of little fish, just like his own. "Let's go and swim and play and see things," he said happily. "We can't," said the little red fish. "The big fish will eat us all." "But you can't just lie there," said Swimmy. "We must think of something." I'm starting to think about what the trouble of the story is. Are you? Swimmy thought and thought and thought. Then suddenly he said, "I have it. We are going to swim all together like the biggest fish in the sea." He taught them to swim close together, each in his own place. And when they had learned to swim like one giant fish, he said, "I'll be the eye." And so they swam in the cool morning water and in the midday sun and chased the big fish away. The end. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the end, just like we did in our lesson, and we're going to reread the end and think, how did they solve the trouble? And what could you learn from the story? What did Swimmy learn from the story? That's the lesson. So here's the ending again. When they learned to swim like one giant fish, he said, "I'll be the eye." And so they swam in the cool morning water in the midday sun and they chased the big fish away. So now you should have an idea of how he solved the trouble. We're not fish, so the lesson of the story isn't as simple as make a big fish, because that's not something that we can do in our own lives. So think, what did Swimmy and his friends do that might be a lesson that we could learn for our own lives? Now head over to the Flipgrid and record yourself telling me what you think the lesson is.